Lisa Martinez stepped off the transport ship and felt her knees wobble. The gravity on Kepler Prime was lighter than Earth, making each step feel like she might bounce away. She gripped her bag tighter and walked carefully toward the massive building ahead. The Galactic Educational Consortium looked nothing like the schools back home. Crystal spires twisted up into the purple sky, and floating platforms carried students between different levels. Most of the beings walking around were definitely not human. Some had forearms, others had scales that changed color, and a few seemed to be made of living crystal. Lisa Martinez from Earth? A voice spoke behind her. She turned to see a creature that looked like a walking tree with glowing blue leaves. I am Professor Nixara. Welcome to our academy. Lisa nodded and tried to smile. Thank you. It's amazing here. You will find everything different from your homeworld, Professor Nixara said. The leaves on her branches rustled as she moved. But we have prepared special accommodations for your stay. They walked through corridors filled with students who stopped to stare at Lisa. She heard whispers in languages she didn't understand, but the tone was clear enough. Fear mixed with curiosity. Some students quickly moved to the far side of the hallway when she passed. Your room is here, Professor Nixara said, stopping at a door marked with symbols Lisa couldn't read. Your roommate is Veltar from the Christine system. She volunteered specifically to help you adjust. The door slid open to reveal a room that looked more like a luxury hotel than a dorm. Everything was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges anywhere. The beds looked like they were made of some kind of foam that glowed softly. A tall, thin figure made of what looked like purple crystal stood near one of the beds. When she saw Lisa, her surface brightened to a pale pink color. You must be Lisa, Veltar said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. I am so excited to meet a human. We learned about your species in xenobiology class. Lisa set her bag down carefully. Everything in the room looked fragile. Nice to meet you too. Thanks for volunteering to room with me. The administration was quite concerned, Veltar said, her color shifting to a more orange hue. Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. Most species cannot survive there for even a few hours. It's not that bad, Lisa said, then paused. Well, I guess it depends on what you're used to. Veltar moved closer, and Lisa could see her reflection multiplied in the crystal facets of her roommate's face. Is it true that your planet has weather that can kill? And creatures that hunt other creatures for food? Lisa sat down on her bed, which adjusted to her weight automatically. Yeah, we have storms and predators, but humans adapted to deal with all that. Fascinating, Veltar said. The safety protocols for your stay here are quite extensive. You have been issued special equipment to ensure you do not accidentally harm other students. She gestured to a table where several devices sat waiting. Lisa picked up what looked like a pair of gloves made of some kind of mesh material. Force limiters, Veltar explained. They will prevent you from applying too much pressure when handling objects or interacting with other students. Your species has what the professors call excessive grip strength. Lisa put the gloves on. They felt strange, like wearing mittens made of rubber. She picked up a stylus from the table and had to concentrate to keep from crushing it even with the limiters on. There is also this, Veltar said, handing her a small device that looked like a bracelet. It monitors your stress levels and heart rate. If either gets too high, it will alert the medical staff. My stress levels? Lisa asked. Human stress responses are quite violent compared to most species, Veltar said. Your bodies produce chemicals that increase strength and speed when threatened. The professors want to make sure this does not happen accidentally. Lisa clipped the bracelet on. It immediately started beeping softly and displaying numbers she didn't understand. Great, so everyone will know when I'm nervous. It is for everyone's safety, Veltar said quickly, including yours. Over the next few days, Lisa tried to settle into the routine at the academy. Classes were held in vast halls with floating seats that adjusted to each species' needs. Lisa's seat was reinforced and had extra restraints that she was required to use during lectures. The first time she raised her hand to ask a question, half the class flinched. The professor, a slug-like being with multiple eye stalks, took several minutes to compose himself before calling on her. Yes, human student? I was wondering about the atmospheric composition of Vega 7, Lisa said. The professor's eye stalks waved nervously. Ah, yes, well, the atmosphere there would be quite toxic to most species. Certainly fatal to humans within minutes. Several students turned to stare at Lisa with what looked like amazement. One whispered loudly, she would die there too? During her first physical education class, Lisa discovered new problems. The other students moved like they were underwater compared to her. When the instructor, a floating jellyfish-like creature, asked everyone to run laps, Lisa had to jog very slowly to avoid lapping the entire class. "Martinez," the instructor called out, "you are not applying sufficient effort." "I'm trying not to run too fast," Lisa said. "Impossible." "Increase your pace." Lisa sped up just a little. Within minutes, she had passed every other student twice. The instructor's bell-like voice rang out in alarm. "Stop! Medical emergency!" Lisa stopped running, confused. "What's wrong?" "Your heart rate monitor shows dangerous levels. Report to the medical bay immediately." At the medical bay, a doctor who looked like a walking flower examined Lisa while several assistants took notes. "Remarkable," the doctor said. "Her cardiovascular system is operating at what would be fatal levels for most species, yet she shows no signs of distress." "I was barely jogging," Lisa said. "Barely jogging," the doctor repeated, making more notes. "Fascinating. Your species' baseline physical capabilities are quite extreme." Lisa left the medical bay with new restrictions on her physical activities. She was no longer allowed to participate in contact sports, competitive activities, or any exercise that might raise her heart rate above levels the monitor considered safe. In the cafeteria, she discovered that even eating was complicated. The dining hall served food designed for dozens of different species, but very little that humans could actually digest. She had been given a special meal synthesizer that created human-safe food, but it was slow and often broke down. "The synthesizer is malfunctioning again," she told the cafeteria manager, a being that looked like a purple octopus. "These devices are very delicate," the manager said, examining the machine with several of his tentacles. "You must be more gentle when operating it." "I just pressed the button," Lisa said. "Human finger strength is approximately 15 times greater than recommended for this equipment," the manager said. "Please use the provided stylus for all interactions." Lisa looked at the tiny stylus, then at the normal-sized buttons on the machine. Everything here seemed designed for beings much more fragile than humans. As days passed, she began to notice other students watching her carefully. They would whisper when she walked by, and conversations would stop when she entered a room. In the library, an entire section would often empty out when she sat down to study. The worst part was the way the security guards followed her. She first noticed Guard Captain Zexthul during her second week. He was 8 feet tall with scales like armor and teeth that looked designed for tearing meat. Despite being clearly a predator species himself, he watched Lisa like she was the dangerous one. "Is there a problem?" she asked him one day after he had been following her for an hour. "Routine security monitoring," Zexthul said. His voice sounded like gravel in a cement mixer. "All high-risk students require constant supervision." "High risk?" "You are from a Class 12 Deathworld," he said. "Your species has a documented history of violence. Precautions must be taken." Lisa wanted to argue, but she could see other students watching the conversation nervously. She nodded and walked away, feeling Zexthul's eyes on her back. That night, she called home using the communication system in her room. Her father's face appeared on the screen, and she felt homesick for the first time since arriving. "How's school, kiddo?" he asked. "Different," Lisa said. "Really different." "Making friends?" Lisa thought about Veltar, who was kind but treated her like a dangerous animal that might explode at any moment. "I'm trying. Everyone here is just very careful around me." "Well, you are representing all of humanity," her father said. "No pressure, right?" Lisa laughed, but it felt forced. "Right. No pressure at all." After ending the call, she lay in her reinforced bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow would be another day of walking carefully, speaking softly and trying not to scare anyone. She wondered how long she could keep pretending to be something she wasn't. 3 weeks into the semester, Lisa thought she was finally getting used to life at the academy. She had learned to move slowly, speak quietly, and always wear the safety equipment. Her grades were good, and she had even managed to have a few real conversations with other students. Then the prank started. The first incident happened on a Tuesday morning. Lisa went to her usual spot in the cafeteria and found her meal synthesizer covered in a thick green slime that smelled like rotten eggs. The substance ate through her safety gloves when she tried to clean it off. Corthax secretion, the cafeteria manager explained while maintenance workers in protective suits cleaned the machine. Highly acidic. Very dangerous for most species. How did it get there? Lisa asked. The manager's tentacles waved in what might have been a shrug. These things happen. We will investigate. Lisa had to go without breakfast that day. By lunchtime, the synthesizer was working again, but the smell lingered. The next day, her room's air recycling system had been adjusted to pump in atmosphere that made her lightheaded and nauseous. Veltar found her on the floor, gasping for breath. Medical emergency in room 847, Veltar called into her communication device. Her crystal surface was flashing red with alarm. The medical team arrived quickly and fixed the atmospheric settings. The doctor, who looked like a walking flower, examined Lisa carefully. The oxygen levels were reduced to what would be normal for Alteran species, the doctor said. Quite safe for them, but insufficient for human respiratory needs. Was it an accident? Lisa asked. System malfunctions are not uncommon, the doctor said, though this particular malfunction is quite coincidental. Lisa noticed that the doctor's assistants were taking notes about everything she said. Even her questions were being recorded. The third incident happened during her xenobiology class. Lisa sat down at her usual reinforced desk and immediately felt a sharp pain in her leg. Something had been placed on her chair, something with spines that went right through her clothing. She managed not to cry out, but her stress monitor started beeping loudly. The entire class turned to stare as she carefully stood up and removed a small, spiny creature from her seat. A Rigelian pain wasp, Professor Vectra said, examining the creature. Non-fatal to humans, but quite uncomfortable. How did this get into the classroom? Lisa looked around the room and noticed a group of students from Altair Beta sitting together near the back. One of them, a tall being with silver skin and too many teeth, was watching her with obvious amusement. I don't know, Lisa said, but this is the third strange incident this week. Incidents? Professor Vectra asked. Lisa explained about the slime and the atmospheric problems. The professor's scales shifted color as she spoke, which Lisa had learned meant deep thought or concern. I will report this to the administration, Professor Vectra said. Such coincidences are troubling. After class, Lisa was gathering her things when the silver-skinned student approached her. Up close, she could see that his teeth were filed to sharp points and his eyes were an unnatural blue color. I am Crixon Veldara, he said. My father sits on the Galactic Council. Okay, Lisa said. Nice to meet you. I wanted to speak with you about your recent difficulties, Crixon said. His voice was smooth and polite, but something about his smile made Lisa uncomfortable. What about them? Perhaps you are not adapting well to our civilized environment, Crixon said. Deathworld species often struggle in peaceful settings. The stress can cause behavioral problems. Lisa felt her stress monitor beep once as her heart rate increased slightly. I'm adapting fine. Are you? Your monitoring equipment suggests otherwise, Crixon said, gesturing at her bracelet. Perhaps you should consider returning to your home planet before these incidents escalate. Are you threatening me? Lisa asked. Not at all, Crixon said. I am simply observing that Deathworld species can be unpredictable when removed from their natural violent environments. Two more Alteran students moved to stand behind Crixon. Lisa recognized them from the back of the classroom. They were all watching her with the same predatory smile. I think this conversation is over, Lisa said. Of course, Crixon said, but do consider what I said. For everyone's safety. Lisa reported the conversation to Professor Vectra, who reported it to the administration. 2 days later, she received a formal response stating that the matter had been reviewed and filed for future reference. The incidents continued. Her study materials were replaced with data files that contained information toxic to human psychology, causing migraines and confusion until she realized what had happened. Her exercise equipment was sabotaged to operate at gravity levels that could have seriously injured her. Her communication system was hacked to play sounds at frequencies that made her ears bleed. Each time Lisa filed a report. Each time the administration promised to investigate. Each time nothing happened. The bureaucracy here moves very slowly. Veltar explained one evening as Lisa sat on her bed, holding ice to her head after another migraine attack. They must be careful not to make accusations without proof. But this is obviously targeted harassment, Lisa said. Obviously to you, Veltar said. But you are from a species known for paranoid thinking and aggressive responses to perceived threats. The administration must consider the possibility that you are misinterpreting normal incidents. Lisa stared at her roommate. You think I'm making this up? Veltar's surface shifted to a pale yellow color. I think your stress levels have been consistently elevated since these incidents began. High stress can affect perception and judgment. Lisa looked down at her monitoring bracelet. The numbers were indeed higher than they had been during her first weeks at the academy. So because I'm stressed about being harassed, they don't believe I'm being harassed? Lisa asked. It is a difficult situation, Veltar said. Perhaps you should speak with the counseling center. The counseling center was run by a being that looked like a large, soft pillow with multiple eyes. Dr. Mothara specialized in helping students adjust to academy life. Human emotional responses are quite intense compared to most species, Dr. Mothara said during their first session. What you perceive as harassment might simply be normal social dynamics that your species interprets as threatening. Someone put a pain wasp in my chair, Lisa said. Pain wasps are common pests in this region, Dr. Mothara said. It could have wandered in naturally. And the atmospheric adjustments? The toxic data files? System malfunctions and data corruption happen regularly in a facility this large, Dr. Mothara said. The coincidence of timing may seem significant to human pattern recognition, but correlation does not imply causation. Lisa left the session feeling more frustrated than when she had arrived. Everyone kept telling her that her human brain was making her see patterns that weren't there, but the incidents kept happening. The next morning, she found her meal synthesizer had been programmed to create food laced with compounds that would trigger severe allergic reactions in humans. If she hadn't tested it first with a small bite, she could have ended up in the medical bay or worse. Attempted poisoning, she told the cafeteria manager. The synthesizer clearly malfunctioned, the manager said. We will have it repaired immediately. This wasn't a malfunction, Lisa said. Someone deliberately programmed it to hurt me. That is a serious accusation, the manager said. Do you have proof? Lisa didn't have proof. She never had proof. The incidents were always deniable, always explainable as accidents or coincidences or her own paranoid interpretation of normal events. That afternoon, she was studying in the library when Crixon and his friends approached her table. There were 4 of them now, all from Altair Beta, all watching her with those sharp-toothed smiles. How are you feeling today, human? Crixon asked. You look tired. I'm fine, Lisa said, not looking up from her textbook. Your stress levels have been quite elevated recently, one of the others said. We've been monitoring the public health feeds. It's fascinating how Deathworld species respond to civilized environments. Lisa's stress monitor gave a quiet beep. She was trying to stay calm, but having 4 predators standing around her table was triggering every instinct her species had developed over millions of years. Perhaps you need to release some of that stress, Crixon said. Deathworld species are known for violent stress responses. It must be difficult to suppress such primitive impulses. I'm not suppressing anything, Lisa said. I'm studying. Of course you are, Crixon said. But tell me, what happens when a human can no longer control their stress levels? What happens when the primitive brain takes over? Lisa finally looked up at them. Nothing happens. Humans don't lose control just because we're stressed. No? Crixon asked. But your species has such a documented history of violence. Surely there must be triggers that activate your more primitive responses. The other Alterans moved closer. Lisa could smell something sweet and cloying on their breath. Her stress monitor was beeping more frequently now. We're quite curious about human physiology, Crixon said, particularly the stress response mechanisms. Your species produces chemicals that most others lack. Adrenaline, I believe it's called. Lisa closed her textbook and started packing her things. I should go. Lisa's stress monitor was beeping so fast it sounded like a continuous alarm. Other students in the library had stopped studying and were staring at the commotion around her table. Some were backing away while others seemed to be recording the scene with their devices. Look at that, Crixon said loudly enough for everyone to hear. The human stress response in action. This is exactly what the professors warned us about. Lisa tried to control her breathing, but 4 Alteran predators had her surrounded and were deliberately trying to trigger her fight-or-flight response. Every instinct she had was screaming at her to either run or fight, but she couldn't do either without proving their point. Please move, Lisa said again. I want to leave. But this is so educational, one of the other Alterans said. We're witnessing primitive Deathworld psychology in real time. The monitoring equipment indicates dangerously elevated stress levels, Crixon observed. I wonder what happens when a human reaches maximum stress capacity. Lisa's hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from the effort of keeping still when every cell in her body was preparing for violence. Her ancestors had survived ice ages and predators and disasters by being ready to fight anything that threatened them. That readiness was coded into her DNA, and these aliens were deliberately activating it. Security alert in Library Section C, an automated voice announced throughout the building. Human stress levels exceed safe parameters. The Alterans smiled at each other. This was what they had been waiting for. Heavy footsteps echoed through the library as Guard Captain Zexathol approached. His scales gleamed under the lighting and his natural armor made him look like a walking tank. Several other security guards followed behind him, all watching Lisa like she was a bomb about to explode. Human Martinez, Zexathol said in his gravel voice. You will submit to calming restraints immediately. Lisa looked around at the scene. 4 Alterans who had been harassing her for weeks stood smirking while security arrived to restrain her. Other students watched from a safe distance, some still recording. Her stress monitor was screaming and everyone was treating her like the problem. I haven't done anything wrong, Lisa said. They won't let me leave. Your stress levels indicate imminent violent behavior, Zexathol said. This is a precautionary measure for everyone's safety. I'm not going to hurt anyone, Lisa said. I just want to go back to my room. Deathworld species cannot be trusted to self-regulate during stress episodes, Zexathol said. He pulled out a set of restraints that looked like they were designed for a dangerous animal. You will comply with security protocols. Lisa stared at the restraints. Heavy metal bands connected by thick chains. Not the kind of thing used on students who were having panic attacks. The kind of thing used on prisoners. I said I haven't done anything wrong, Lisa repeated. Your monitoring equipment disagrees, Zexathol said. Elevated heart rate, increased perspiration, muscle tension consistent with pre-violence indicators. You are exhibiting classic Deathworld aggression patterns. Because you're treating me like a criminal, Lisa said. Her voice was getting louder now and she could hear the edge in it. Because these 4 have been harassing me for weeks and now you're here to arrest me instead of them. There is no record of harassment, Zexathol said. There is only a record of incidents that you reported, all of which were investigated and found to be coincidental. Crixon spoke up from behind Lisa. Guard Captain, we were simply having a conversation when her stress levels began climbing. We tried to calm her down, but Deathworld species are quite unpredictable. Lisa spun around to face him. You're lying, am I? Crixon asked. Or are you experiencing the paranoid thinking patterns typical of your species under stress? That's enough, Zexathol said. Human Martinez, you will submit to restraints now, or force will be used. Lisa looked at the massive alien guard approaching her with restraints designed for violent criminals. She looked at the Alterans who had orchestrated this entire situation and were now playing innocent. She looked at the other students recording everything for whatever twisted entertainment value it might have. No, Lisa said. Zexathol stopped walking. What did you say? I said no, Lisa repeated. I'm not submitting to restraints for the crime of being stressed out by bullies. You will comply, Zexathol said. Or you will be made to comply. Make me, Lisa said. Later, investigators would try to piece together exactly what happened next. The security cameras throughout the library began experiencing technical difficulties at 1947 local time. The electromagnetic interference pattern was consistent with solar storm activity, though no such storms were predicted for that day. What the cameras recorded before the malfunction showed Guard Captain Zexathol approaching the human student with restraints. Audio sensors picked up elevated voices and what sounded like a brief scuffle. Then, nothing. For 4 hours and 17 minutes, every recording device in Library Section C showed only static. The timestamp logs showed a gap that Academy technicians would later describe as unusual but not unprecedented, given the outdated nature of some of the recording equipment. What happened during those missing hours became a matter of intense speculation. Some witnesses reported seeing Lisa backing away from Zexathol as he approached with the restraints. Others said she stood her ground. All agreed that Zexathol made the first physical contact, grabbing Lisa's arm to force her into the restraints. She told him to stop, one student would later tell investigators. She said, "Don't touch me," several times, but he kept trying to put those chains on her. What exactly Lisa did in response was where witness accounts began to differ wildly. "She moved faster than anything I've ever seen," said a Rigelian student who had been sitting 3 tables away. One moment the guard was holding her arm. The next moment he was flying backward into a bookshelf. "It wasn't flying," corrected a Vegan observer. "It was more like he was picked up and placed there." "Very precisely." "She hit him," insisted one of the Alterans. "Multiple times. Brutal, savage attacks." "I didn't see any hits," said another witness. "I saw movement, but it was too fast to follow. Like watching liquid mercury." "The guard was making these awful sounds," reported a Christine student, "like his breathing apparatus was damaged. But the human, she wasn't even breathing hard." The Alteran students claimed that Lisa had attacked without provocation, using the kind of violence typical of Deathworld species, but their accounts were contradicted by other witnesses, who said they saw Lisa defending herself against increasingly aggressive attempts to restrain her. "The guard kept getting more frustrated," one student said. "Every time he tried to grab her, she would just not be there anymore. Like she was anticipating exactly what he was going to do. He started using more force," another witness said, "treating her like a real threat instead of a student. That's when things got really bad." What everyone agreed on was that Guard Captain Zexthul, a trained security professional from a warrior species, ended up unconscious on the library floor after attempting to restrain one human girl who weighed about half what he did. When the cameras came back online at 23:04, they showed an empty library. No students, no security guards, no sign of any disturbance except for some displaced furniture and a few scattered books. Lisa was found 20 minutes later sitting in Director Mithrandros's office, apparently having walked there on her own. She was disheveled but uninjured, holding a cup of tea that the director's assistant had made for her. "Where is Guard Captain Zexthul?" Director Mithrandros asked. "Medical bay," Lisa said calmly. "I called for assistance after he was injured." "How was he injured?" "He fell down," Lisa said. "Several times." Guard Captain Zexthul was indeed in the medical bay, unconscious and suffering from what the medical staff described as extensive but precisely targeted trauma. Multiple fractures, a severe concussion, and damage to his breathing apparatus that would require surgery to repair. "Can you explain how a guard trained in combat techniques sustained such injuries from a fall?" Director Mithrandros asked. Lisa sipped her tea. "He fell down repeatedly while trying to restrain me. I tried to help him maintain his balance, but he was very determined to use force. The medical report indicates that his injuries are consistent with defensive techniques used by military specialists trained in Korvaxi anatomy," the director said. "Where would a human student learn such techniques?" "I don't know anything about Korvaxi anatomy," Lisa said. "I just tried to keep him from hurting me while he was falling down." Director Mithrandros studied the human girl sitting across from his desk. She appeared calm and cooperative, showing no signs of the violent stress response that had supposedly triggered the incident. Her monitoring equipment indicated normal vital signs. If he didn't know better, he would think she had spent the evening studying quietly in her room. "The cameras malfunctioned for over 4 hours, he said. "Solar storms can do that," Lisa said. "I read about it in our astronomy class. There were no solar storms predicted for today." Lisa shrugged. "Space weather is unpredictable." News of the incident spread through the academy faster than the administration could control it. By morning, every student knew that the human exchange student had somehow put Guard Captain Zexthul in the medical bay. The details varied wildly depending on who was telling the story. Lisa woke up in her own bed, though she didn't remember walking back to her room. Veltar was sitting nearby, her crystal surface shifting between worried blue and confused purple. "Lisa," Veltar said when she opened her eyes, "are you functioning normally?" "I think so," Lisa said, sitting up. Her body felt fine. Better than fine, actually. Like she had slept deeply for the first time in weeks. "Why?" "The entire academy is talking about what happened last night," Veltar said. "Some students are saying you attacked a security guard. Others are saying he attacked you. The administration has called an emergency assembly." Lisa looked around their room. Everything was exactly as she had left it. except for her stress monitoring bracelet sitting on the table next to her bed. She picked it up and saw that it had been damaged somehow. The display was cracked and showing error messages. Must have broken during the incident, Lisa said. The incident, Veltar repeated. Can you tell me what actually happened? Lisa thought about it. Her memory of the evening was crystal clear right up until the moment Zexthul grabbed her arm. After that, things got fuzzy. She remembered movement, the feeling of her body doing things faster than her conscious mind could track, and then sitting in the director's office drinking tea. Zexthul tried to restrain me for the crime of being stressed, Lisa said. I defended myself. Defense that put him in the medical bay, Veltar said, with injuries that the medical staff are calling surgically precise. He's alive, isn't he? Lisa asked. Yes, but barely conscious. The doctors say he will recover, but it will take weeks. Lisa nodded. Good, I didn't want to seriously hurt him. Veltar's surface flashed bright orange. You didn't want to seriously hurt him? Lisa, what you did to him would have killed most species. Lisa looked at her roommate with genuine confusion, but it didn't kill him. I was careful. Careful? Veltar asked. How are you careful when you don't even remember what you did? I remember enough, Lisa said. I remember deciding not to kill him. The emergency assembly was held in the main auditorium, a vast space that could hold all 3,000 students at the academy. Lisa sat in her usual reinforced seat, aware that everyone was staring at her. Conversation stopped when she passed, and several students actually left the auditorium when she entered. Director Mithrandros stood at the podium, his ancient features showing the strain of the past 12 hours. Behind him sat the academy's senior staff and several beings Lisa didn't recognize, all watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to fear. Students, Director Mithrandros began, as many of you have heard, there was an incident last evening involving a security guard and a student. I want to address the rumors and speculation that have been circulating. The auditorium was completely silent. Lisa could hear her own heartbeat in the quiet. After a thorough investigation, the director continued, we have determined that Guard Captain Zexthul was injured while attempting to use excessive force against a student who was defending herself within the bounds of galactic law. A murmur went through the crowd. Several students turned to stare directly at Lisa. The student in question has been cleared of any wrongdoing, Director Mithrandros said. However, this incident has highlighted some serious problems with our current safety protocols and attitudes toward diversity within our student body. Professor Vectra stood up from the faculty section. Director, with respect, how can a student defending herself result in such severe injuries to a trained security professional? An excellent question, Director Mithrandros said. Dr. Rodriguez from Earth's diplomatic mission is here to help us understand what we witnessed. A human woman Lisa had never seen before approached the podium. She was middle-aged, with graying hair and the kind of confident bearing that came from experience dealing with difficult situations. Thank you, Director, Dr. Rodriguez said. I'm Elena Rodriguez, a xenopsychologist specializing in human-alien interactions. I've reviewed the incident reports and interviewed witnesses, and I'd like to explain what you saw last night. She activated a holographic display that showed a human figure surrounded by various alien species. Humans evolved on what you call a Class 12 Deathworld, Dr. Rodriguez began. This means that everything on our planet, from the weather to the animals to the geology, is actively trying to kill everything else. For millions of years, our species survived by being too dangerous to safely attack. The hologram showed various Earth predators, natural disasters, and environmental hazards. Most species in the galaxy evolved as either predators or prey, Dr. Rodriguez continued. Predators develop the ability to kill specific types of prey. Prey develops the ability to escape or submit to specific types of predators. Humans are neither. The hologram changed to show humans fighting everything from saber-toothed cats to other humans. We're persistence hunters who evolved to kill anything that threatens us, regardless of size, strength, or natural weaponry. We're also pack animals who developed complex social structures around protecting our group members. When you corner a human, especially one who has been systematically harassed, you're not dealing with a predator calculating odds or prey seeking escape. You're dealing with something that survived ice ages by being too stubborn to die. Several students in the audience were looking distinctly uncomfortable. Last night, Guard Captain Zexthul made the mistake that many species make when dealing with humans, Dr. Rodriguez said. He assumed that because humans are smaller and look fragile, they must be less dangerous than obviously predatory species like his own. She gestured toward the medical bay. Zexthul is a Korvaxi warrior, trained in combat from birth. Under normal circumstances, he could easily overpower any human. But last night, he wasn't fighting a human under normal circumstances. He was attacking a human who had been pushed past her tolerance for threats. Are you saying the student entered some kind of berserker state? Professor Vectra asked. Nothing so dramatic, Dr. Rodriguez said. Humans don't lose control when threatened. We become more controlled. Our nervous system switches to what we call combat mode, where we process information faster, move more precisely, and think several steps ahead of our opponent. The hologram showed a human brain with highlighted areas lighting up in sequence. Miss Martinez didn't attack Guard Captain Zexthul. Dr. Rodriguez continued. She defended herself with exactly the amount of force necessary to neutralize the threat he represented. The precision of his injuries shows remarkable restraint, not loss of control. Director Mithrandros stepped forward. Dr. Rodriguez, the injuries suggest knowledge of Korvaxi anatomy that a civilian shouldn't possess. Humans are pattern recognition specialists, Dr. Rodriguez said. We can analyze the anatomy and weak points of any species we encounter within minutes of observation. It's how we survived on a planet where everything was stronger and faster than us. Lisa sat in her seat, listening to Dr. Rodriguez explain her species like they were discussing the mating habits of some interesting alien creature. Part of her was grateful for the explanation. Another part was worried about what conclusions the other students might draw. So you're saying that all humans are capable of this level of violence? Asked a student from the audience. I'm saying that all humans are capable of this level of defense, Dr. Rodriguez corrected. The violence is proportional to the threat. Guard Captain Zexthul presented a significant threat, so the response was significant. What if the threat had been greater? Director Mithrandros asked quietly. Dr. Rodriguez looked directly at Lisa when she answered. Then the response would have been greater. After the assembly, Lisa found herself walking through empty corridors. Students who saw her coming would quickly find somewhere else to be. The cafeteria was nearly deserted when she arrived for lunch. She sat alone at her usual table, eating food from her repaired synthesizer. After a few minutes, Veltar approached hesitantly. May I sit? Veltar asked. Of course, Lisa said. You're my roommate. Veltar sat down, her surface a nervous yellow color. I wanted to apologize. For what? For not believing you about the harassment, Veltar said. For thinking your stress responses were paranoid thinking. For not supporting you when you needed help. Lisa looked at her roommate. You were following your programming just like I was following mine. Programming. Dr. Rodriguez is right about humans being pattern recognition specialists, Lisa said. But she left out one important detail. We're also really good at adapting our behavior to fit into social groups. I spent 3 weeks trying to be the kind of human that would make everyone comfortable. And last night I stopped trying to be comfortable and started trying to survive, Lisa said. The difference is apparently quite dramatic. Veltar's surface shifted to a deep blue. Are you still the same person? Lisa thought about it. She felt the same, but something had definitely changed. The constant background stress she had been carrying for weeks was gone. 2 weeks after the incident, Guard Captain Zexthul returned to duty. He walked with a slight limp and his breathing apparatus had been upgraded with newer technology, but he was alive and functional. The first thing he did was request a meeting with Lisa. They met in Director Mithrandros' office with Dr. Rodriguez present as a neutral observer. Zexthul looked smaller somehow, despite being just as tall and armored as before. He sat carefully in his chair and studied Lisa for a long moment before speaking. I owe you an apology, Zexthul said in his gravelly voice. And my life. Lisa was surprised. Your life? You could have killed me, Zexthul said. Many times during our encounter, I have reviewed my injuries with the medical staff. Each one was precisely placed to disable without causing permanent damage. You showed mercy to someone who showed you none. I didn't want to hurt you, Lisa said. I just wanted you to stop trying to hurt me. I was not trying to hurt you, Zexthul said. I was trying to control you. Same thing from where I was standing, Lisa said. Zexthul nodded slowly. Yes, I understand that now. Dr. Rodriguez has been educating our security staff about human psychology and defensive responses. We have learned much. He leaned forward in his chair. I also owe you an explanation. My species has a strong dominance hierarchy. When faced with a perceived threat, we establish superiority through physical control. It works with most species who submit when clearly outmatched. But not with humans, Lisa said. No. Humans respond to dominance displays with violence, Zexthul said. The more force we apply, the more dangerous you become. It is a completely alien concept to us, Dr. Rodriguez spoke up. Captain Zexthul has agreed to help us develop new training protocols for security personnel dealing with human students. If you'll have me, Zexthul said to Lisa, I would like to learn how to protect humans instead of trying to control them. Lisa studied the massive alien who had tried to chain her like a dangerous animal 2 weeks ago. He seemed genuinely remorseful, and more importantly, he seemed to understand what he had done wrong. Okay, Lisa said, but I have conditions. Name them. No more monitoring equipment unless there's an actual medical emergency, Lisa said. No more safety restrictions that don't apply to other students. And no more assuming that human stress responses are automatically dangerous. Agreed, Zexthul said. And one more thing, Lisa said. I want to help train the new human students who are applying here. Director Mithrandros looked up from his notes. Miss Martinez, the commission hasn't approved those applications yet. They will, Lisa said. Dr. Rodriguez told me that Earth's government is putting pressure on the Galactic Council. Apparently, refusing to admit human students after what happened to me would be seen as discriminatory. And you want to help prepare them? Dr. Rodriguez asked. I want to make sure they don't have to go through what I went through, Lisa said. And I want to make sure the faculty understands what they're dealing with. 3 months later, the first group of new human students arrived at the academy. There were 12 of them, ranging in age from 16 to 19, and they all knew Lisa's story. They called her things like the girl who broke the guard and the Deathworld legend, which made Lisa uncomfortable but seemed to make the alien students give them more respect. Lisa found herself in the strange position of being an unofficial liaison between human students and academy administration. She helped develop new orientation programs that explained both human psychology to alien staff and alien psychology to human students. The most important thing to remember, she told a group of new human arrivals, during their first week, is that most species here literally cannot understand violence as a defensive response. To them, we look like prey animals that suddenly turn into apex predators when threatened. So we have to be careful not to threaten them, asked Alex Turner, a 17-year-old from New York. We have to be careful not to be threatened, Lisa corrected. Big difference. She had also started working with Captain Zexthul on security protocols. The big Korvaxi had become something of an expert on human defensive responses, though he admitted he still didn't fully understand them. Your species confuses me, he told Lisa during one of their training sessions. You can be completely peaceful for months, then become lethal in seconds, then go back to being peaceful immediately afterward. It's called proportional response, Lisa said. We match the level of threat we're facing, but how do you control it so precisely? Lisa thought about the question. I guess we don't really control it. We just aim it. The training sessions had become popular with students from other species who wanted to understand human psychology. Lisa found herself giving informal lectures about Earth history, human evolution, and why her species reacted to things the way they did. Humans are the only species we know of that evolved to fight literally everything, she explained to a mixed group of students. Other species evolved to fight specific threats. We evolved to fight anything that threatened our survival, regardless of what it was. Is that why you're so adaptable? Asked a Christine student. Probably, Lisa said. When your planet keeps trying to kill you in new and creative ways, you get good at improvising solutions. The most significant change came when the Academy administration announced new policies for all students, not just humans. The harassment that Lisa had endured was now grounds for immediate expulsion. Stress monitoring was limited to medical emergencies, and most importantly, self-defense was now considered a fundamental right for all students, regardless of species. The incident with Miss Martinez highlighted serious flaws in our approach to student safety, Director Mithrandros announced during a faculty meeting that Lisa was invited to attend. We were so focused on protecting students from each other that we forgot to protect them from institutional discrimination. The changes weren't just limited to the Academy. News of the incident had spread throughout galactic society, sparking debates about human integration and the rights of students from dangerous species. Some worlds had initially called for restrictions on human travel, but the more the story spread, the more opinion shifted in humanity's favor. A human girl was systematically bullied for weeks. One editorial in the Galactic News Network read, "When she was finally cornered and attacked by both students and security personnel, she defended herself with exactly the force necessary to survive." This is being called dangerous behavior by the same institutions that allowed the harassment to continue. Lisa found herself becoming something of a celebrity in human space. Ships arriving from Earth often carried messages of support from humans who had heard her story. Several universities on Earth offered her full scholarships if she wanted to transfer home. She chose to stay. Why? Veltar asked her one evening as they studied together in their room. "You could go home and be a hero. Here you're still seen as dangerous by many students. Here I can make a difference," Lisa said. "At home I'd just be another student. Here I'm helping to change how an entire galaxy thinks about my species. And that's worth being feared?" Lisa thought about it. "I'm not feared anymore." "Not really. I'm respected," it was true. The whispers and stares had changed from fearful to curious. Students approached her with questions about Earth and humans instead of avoiding her in hallways. Some even asked for self-defense lessons, though Lisa was careful to explain that human techniques wouldn't work for most other species. The biggest change came when Captain Zexthul announced the formation of a new security unit, specifically trained in interspecies psychology and de-escalation techniques. Lisa was asked to help develop the training program. "We want guards who understand that different species respond to threats in different ways," Zexthul explained. "Someone who can recognize when a human is being defensive versus aggressive. Someone who can calm a stressed Alteran without triggering a fight response in a nearby human. You want guards who think before they act," Lisa said. "Exactly." The first graduation ceremony for the new security unit was held 6 months after Lisa's incident. She stood on the platform next to Director Mithrandros and Captain Zexthul, as 12 newly trained guards received their certifications. These officers represent a new approach to campus security, Director Mithrandros announced to the assembled crowd. They are trained not just to maintain order, but to understand the diverse needs and responses of all our students. After the ceremony, Lisa was approached by a young Korvaxi who had just graduated from the program. "Miss Martinez," the young guard said, "I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For showing us that strength and violence are not the same thing," the guard said. "My training taught me that the most dangerous individuals are often the ones who choose not to use their full capabilities." Lisa smiled. "That's a lesson it took me a while to learn too." As her second year at the academy began, Lisa reflected on how much had changed. The human student population had grown to over 50, and they were no longer treated as dangerous curiosities. The academy had become a model for interspecies education, with delegations from other schools visiting regularly to observe their programs. The 4 hours and 17 minutes when the cameras had malfunctioned had become something of a legend among the student body. Nobody knew exactly what had happened during that time, and Lisa had never provided details beyond saying she defended herself appropriately.